have to admit, episode 57 of Reincarnated as Slime is kind of one of those prime moments of the series that I always have that struggle. That yes, let's all face it, Reincarnated as Slime is one of those series where the characters rarely ever are challenged. The characters around Rimuru are extremely OP, so whenever a conflict comes up, I never have this expectation that they're going to have a difficulty. The moment that Diablo goes there, I'm like, yeah, he's probably not going to face an issue. Okay, when Shion's facing up against the Crusaders, she's not going to have an issue. Now, granted, we did have Rimuru, and she was facing off against Hinata, and there was a little bit of a struggle there, but for the most part, this series has kind of established at this point that our main character and the people around him are extremely OP, and nothing's ever going to challenge them. But there is sort of a side of me that every now and then I feel like I kind of want the characters challenged. And I kind of had that example with this episode with the appearance of the Rooks coming there and them facing off somebody besides Rimuru. Now, why I'm saying this is because in previous episodes, we had this conversation about at least the Rooks themselves, them sort of being like having this awakening. They went to the Seven Luminaries, and the Seven Luminaries sort of awakened them to something. And they said that their awakening is similar to becoming a Demon Lord. Now, at the time, it didn't say that they were of the level of Demon Lords, but it sort of implied them having this awakening that's similar to it. So there was a side of me that I kind of wanted at least the Rooks to be a challenge. And unfortunately, that didn't happen with this episode. Episode 57, it did not happen. And so there is sort of a side of me that's kind of conflicted with having, let's face it, pretty much half of a season devoted to building up to a conflict and not having any sort of actual issues that the characters are actually going to face. There's no challenge here. And so there is a side of me that's kind of a little disappointed. I liked this episode because of Diablo. He's just kind of cool. He's just kind of wickedly cool. That was the same thing I had with the previous episode. Even though Shion wipes the floor with everybody, she does it in a fun way. And I think that's why this series still works, despite the fact that the characters are so OP. It's just fun. Seeing Ranga have way too much fun just throwing this guy around, it's fun. Having Shion have this very positive nature, wanting to cook them a meal, and just kind of like, hey boys, let's all relax, and don't make me have to get Rimuru angry at me. It's fun. But there is a side of me that kind of goes, are we getting anything out of this season? Like, is this really that big of a deal? Now, granted, the other thing that the series does that's good and does offset that is that we're constantly getting reveals to the story and the mechanics of the world, obviously getting more into Diablo himself, what he's kind of doing there, what his status is, revealing that to the enemy, all that kind of stuff. I don't even remember if they even mentioned that Diablos was this is one of those funny things, a demon lord. A Daemon Lord. It's kind of one of those fun things. I do know that certain things have an establishment difference between Daemon and Demon, but it's still one of those funny things that every time they talk about Rimuru, he's a Mao. He's a Demon Lord. That's a translation of Mao. Well, now we have Diablo, who is a demon, but no, they're a Daemon Lord. It's like, yeah, that we finally ran into an issue with that whole translation. It doesn't quite work. You probably should have stuck with Mao over here and then called him a demon. I don't know. It's funny, but where was I going with this? Yeah, him revealing that stuff to them being shocked about it, everybody being shocked about how OP Rimuru is. It's the usual kind of fluff there. But again, I'm acknowledging this, but at the same time, I'm not saying that it breaks the show, but this is one of those moments where I do realize that was there purpose to any of this? And that does kind of extend to what they're seemingly going to be getting into with episode 58. We have the appearance of the Luminaries. The Seven Luminaries the 7 days clergy now. The 7 day clergies has appeared, and they're revealing that they're behind everything. You have over here, Sara has figured it out, and now they're attacking the random citizens. And then you have over here, they're confronting Rimuru, and they're saying, we got to kill Hinata, which is totally not going to happen. All this stuff is being revealed, and it's like, but is there going to be any challenge here? Honestly, I don't feel it. If Hinata can take down the 7 day clergy or the luminaries, why is Rimuru going to have an issue with them? I mean, it probably is going to come down to if there is any struggle, it'll be because the 7 day clergy has some sort of secret item Oh, well, if you're not going to let us kill her, well, what about this? And then all of a sudden, Rimmedu's weakened, and like, oh my gosh, something is affecting Rimmedu. That's the only way that I could see them possibly having a challenge with the Seven Luminaries. And then over there with the whole thing with Falmouth, I don't see Diablo's having an issue because it's already establishing at this point that he's of the level of Demon Lord as well. So, again, it kind of opens that door to, in the end, is there going to be any challenge here? The only way that I could see there being somewhat of a challenge is if Luminous herself gets involved with the fight, and then Rimmedu has to fight Luminous, which I don't really necessarily see happening. Again, we technically have the OP as sort of implying that we might see Luminous versus Veldora. I don't know, we might see that happening, but again, that's more of that aspect of, I'm kind of assuming at this point that Luminous and Veldora sort of have like a love-hate relationship, so I don't even think that's going to be a big deal. So, again, just something that has popped up in my mind at this point. Let's throw that to the side. It's still an enjoyable episode. Again, a lot of that has to do with the fact that Diablos is just fun. He's just a wickedly kind of fun character. But, yeah, start from the beginning, opening up the episode, we have the Eastern Merchant. He's talking about how he's pretty much started a problem, and now he's getting out of there. It's kind of one of those things where he's establishing that, yeah, they caused a fuss, he's fulfilled his role, and all these people get involved. Oh, yeah, it seems implied that he realized, yeah, this Diablo guy's showing up. I'm getting the hell out of here. Like, he's literally just cutting and running. I'll leave them a batch of demon killers, not that they do anything, and let's get the hell out of here. But then, yes, we get Diablo showing up to the battlefield at Falmouth, and you have Ed Morris. He's being all cocky. He thinks he's got everything working out. He's got some demon killers over here. He's got the rooks have showed up. He's got everything he needs, but then that's the point in which Diablo shows up. Now, over on the side, yes, we do have Ranga and Gopta and all them. They take down the other forces over there, which, again, it's fun. Seeing Ranga have fun running around the battlefield, flinging people around. I do get a kick out of the fact that they literally have to tell him, stop. Ranga, stop. You're going to make Rimmedu angry. He doesn't want to play. He's done. He's like, no, he wants to play more, doesn't he? No, he's done. Stop. He's not playing. It was cute. It was cute. But no, Diablo himself facing off against him. Again, I don't remember them ever actually getting into exactly what Diablo is. They could have, but I did kind of find it interesting. I don't, again, remember specifically the other ones they brought up. I mean, yes, I obviously remember Guy, Crimson, but I don't remember that they ever have brought in Blanc. I don't know. They pronounced it like Blonde or something like that. I don't think they ever brought up Blanc before, unless that was in one of the OVAs that I've forgotten. But that was interesting, him bringing up them. Yeah, I went up there and I checked her out. It was, just casually dropping names and terrifying the guy. Before finally, yes, Sare shows up and tries to take him on. Now, again, this is one of those aspects that I was kind of hoping that Sare and Glinda would put up some sort of fight. And again, after now essentially acknowledging what Diablo is, does technically put him up higher. But again, that was in conflict with my desire to at least have the Rooks be somewhat of an awakened state that is somewhere near Rimmedu. I could just imagine, like, what was it, like a few episodes ago when they did have that reveal that these were some awakening that was close to the Demon Lord. I was speculating back there. I'm like, cool, that puts them on par with, probably not Rimmedu, but I was kind of hoping it would at least put them on par with people that surround Rimmedu. But unfortunately, again, that apparently is not the case. They're not that powerful. Sare is not really doing anything at all. And again, that could just be strictly Diablo's. Diablo himself and his ability to basically dismantle whatever's coming at him does technically make sense that Sare's not putting up much fight. And yes, even Glinda herself has figured that out. I like how Glinda's like, peace out, runs off. I'm not doing this. Just runs off. But now that all leads to the point where the 7 luminaries show up. Now, what my expectation here is that the luminaries show up, and Diablo is already figuring out what we're figuring out. They're wanting to cover this up. They basically say, hey, Sare, keep him busy. We'll take him down with our spell. And they immediately turn and blast the people. And I'm like, why are we even acting like this is a thing? Like, what happened not like 2 scenes before? He put up a barrier. Now, the barrier, I at first thought the barrier was put up because he wanted to talk to the king without the people hearing. Because why would you put up a barrier when you're not even fighting yet? But it seemed like he probably put up the barrier to protect the people, because he did say, like, right after that, I'm not harming you, but he could have been talking to the king. He put up a barrier to protect the people, because they could still hear what was going on in there. And so that barrier obviously is going to block whatever the luminaries are using. Now, yes, the spell they're using could, I don't know, dismantle the barrier and go past the barrier. But the assumption here is that Diablos wasn't moving. He's like, whatever. And I could expect that Diablos, because of what he was told by Rimuru, would protect the people. I think he didn't move from that spot because he knew the barrier was going to, protect them. So I don't really have a feeling like the people there are harmed. It's probably going to hit the barrier, stop. The luminary's going to go, what? That was our most powerful spell. Why didn't it work on the barrier? And then Diablo's is going to say, haha, you're crazy. Now, on the side of Rimuru, yes, they established that she subconsciously, without even thinking, can dismantle the magicules that are happening from the potion, so she can't be healed by Rimuru. They have to bring in somebody to heal her. That ain't happening because the luminaries show up, and they want to kill Hinata. Obviously, next episode is going to open up. Rimuru's going to say, hell no, we're going to heal her. It's going to come into one of those struggles where they can't get somebody to come heal her because they're bound, and he has to stop the luminaries in order to unbind them. But I'm thinking that probably what's going to happen with that whole situation is, I think, similar to what I said in the previous episode, I think Luminous is going to show up. I just have no doubt at this point Luminous is going to show up. Now, what my previous prediction was is that Luminous was going to go talk to the luminaries first, because I think that's what she implied. The luminaries are, or at least what, I forget what his name is, was implying, Lewis or whatever, he was implying that, yeah, I think the luminaries are getting involved. She knows it. So I figured she was going to go to where the luminaries were. Now the luminaries are on the battlefield. That means that she's going to show up there. So my prediction really is that Luminous is going to show up at the battlefield that Rimuru's at. She's going to save Hinata's life. And then what after that? That's the question mark. I think we might have Rimuru fight the luminaries for a little bit, and then Luminous shows up and finishes them off and then heals Hinata. But again, that's that massive question mark of how much conflict we're going to actually have here. I really do hope it's not going to turn into a thing where Luminous shows up, she fights Rimuru for a little bit because of the misunderstanding stuff. Again, because she doesn't want conflict with Rimuru. I would think that she'd show up, say, all right, chill, this isn't what I wanted, sorry, let's move on with our lives, let me heal Hinata, we're out of here. Here, let me pick up my garbage. She picks up the luminaries and walks out the door. That's kind of what I'm assuming, but I really, as much as I do kind of want a conflict between Luminous and Rimuru, just to have something with some stakes, which again, we had some with Hinata fighting Rimuru, I just don't see it with what we've established so far. It could be that she shows up there, and then Veldora immediately senses that she's there, and he rushes over, and then he wants to fight her. But again, that would kind of go counter to what they've established with even Veldora. Veldora can't use his power and let it out because he's going to cause the area to essentially be corrupted and hit with all the magicules, and things will start deforming and turn into wasteland, and then monsters will show up. Unless he can fight her without releasing magicals, which I guess that would work, and then we could possibly have that fight happening. That's the only way that I can see some sort of conflict happening. Again, that is partly because I'm thinking about the OP, which that's one of those problems with OPs. They have those little possible spoilers. It could not be, but it could possibly just be spoilers. But we'll see. We'll see. That's all speculation. I think that's it. I think there was some interesting dialogue exchanges between Diablo and the rest of them, kind of getting that whole aspect of, yes, there's the Demon Lord factor. He was letting off that aura to see if they could overcome it, which is kind of surprising that with how weak they are compared to him, at least 3 people stood. I think they were just trying to give some sort of like credits to the demon hunters, that they were even willing to stand in front of him. So I'm curious if there's like some way to overcome that might not be just strictly power based. But then going from there to talking about the presence itself, you're not a demon lord, you can't have that presence. Well, yeah, it can still do that. We just have to ascend this way. Similarly, we have to ascend this way, and that is to become a diamond lord. Again, that whole freaking phrase. But again, Sare sort of picking up exactly what sort of is implied the first time that Diablo showed up. Because I even think back then when Diablo showed up out of nowhere and then like came to Rimuru and Rimuru gave him a name, there was sort of kind of a hint there of like, who is this guy? I think it was kind of implied with, I forget what his name is, the other guy, when he was realizing who Diablo was, it was like, holy crap, who is this being? Why are they here? Kind of thing. I think they sort of implied back then that Diablo was something special and questioning why he was even there or why he was even under Rimuru. But yeah, this episode sort of gave a little bit more context to it, and the idea of them being this legendary beings, or one of these legendary beings that has, been brought back, and Rimuru, why the hell would you even give this dude a name? What the heck were you thinking? Because I think they've already implied before this idea of giving the names sort of powers them up, and to give that to somebody that is already extremely powerful is pretty crazy to think about. Which, yes, always kind of brings up the question mark as to if he could ever overcome Rimuru himself, but by all accounts so far, it has kind of implied the idea that this guy is just kind of fully devoted to Rimuru. It's probably never going to happen, but who knows? Anyhow, that's my thoughts on episode 57 of Reincarnated Slime, even though I spent most of it kind of complaining, but not really complaining, because I explained that it's technically still fun. But I'll probably get dislikes for it. But if you did like this video, make sure to hit that like button down below, comment, let me know what you thought of the episode. Additionally, if you need to channel, make sure that subscribe button to get my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top lists. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you like this content and you want to support the channel more, I have a Patreon link, tips, links, everything, membership button down below. Greatly appreciate it, but it does. And y'all take care.